Good afternoon guys, my name is David and you're watching Inside Out, the car show where I can literally take a car and review it from front to back, left to right and inside out. Today we have this beautiful 2019 BMW X5, but if you have an interesting car yourself which you would like me to review in one of the upcoming episodes, let me know at the email address below. The first generation of the BMW X5 launched all the way back in 1999, and together with the Porsche Cayenne, it was one of the pioneers of the luxury SUVs, which are so popular today. Over 2 million X5s have been sold worldwide since its debut, and it is BMW's fifth best-selling model behind the 3 Series, 5 Series, 1 Series, and X1. The X5 is just a well-rounded, practical and comfortable car, which you can drive to the office during the week and to the mountains on the weekends. The starting price of an xDrive 40i is around $63,000 in the US. However, as is usual with BMW, the options on this car are plentiful and will easily cost you additional $30,000. Let's start this review by looking at the exterior design, and more specifically the exterior differences of this generation of the X5 in comparison to the older one. So this car has got, of course, completely redone front design, and starting with the headlights, you could either order the standard headlights or the more powerful and overall better laser lights, which this specific car doesn't have. Then there is the huge grille, which was really controversial when the car first came out. But I don't think it's all that bad and I got used to it quite fast. The Audi Q8, which is a competitor to this car, has got even more radical front design in my opinion, and the Mercedes-Benz GLE has got a huge grille as well. Now let's go over some of the differences between the standard version of this car and the M Sport package. Now with the M Sport package, the front of the car is once again a bit redone, and you get these 3 black vents under the headlights. Then you can order the 22-inch wheels, which this car has, and these wheels also come with the blue brake calipers, which in my opinion look great. Furthermore, you get this black lining around the windows instead of the standard chrome. Then you get this small little M badge here, which you can look at and admire. And then in the back, the diffuser is a bit changed as well. When it comes to the exterior paint of the X5, you could order it in 8 different colors as standard, ranging from white to black. Then there's a special color called Burgundy Ametrin Metallic and 2 shades of blue, the Phytonic Blue and the Tanzanite Blue. This specific car is finished in the Arctic Grey exterior color and comes with ivory white interior. Overall, I really enjoyed the design of this car. I love the front, I love the large kidney grills, then this line going throughout the entire side of the car and the rear lights as well. One important thing that I forgot and hate about this car's design is the fake vents. Come on BMW, you're better than that. The 3 bottom vents in the front are completely fake. The vents on the side are completely fake. And even the exhaust surrounds are completely fake. Now let's go and have a look under the hood. But in order to access the hood, you must first go all the way around the car and then press a latch here in the driver footwell twice. And only then do you come back to the front and manually pop the hood up. Now looking under the hood, you immediately notice this hideous looking plastic engine cover with fake carbon fiber pattern printed on it. But the engine appearance isn't all that important overall, so let's have a look at some of the stats. You can get this car with an xDrive 30D 3-liter inline-6 producing 261 horsepower. Which would do 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds and has a top speed of 143 miles per hour. Then there is the xDrive S-Drive 40i version of this car, which comes with a 3-liter 6-cylinder engine producing 335 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. This engine would get you from 0 to 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour in just over 5 seconds and has a top speed of 150 miles per hour. Then there is the more hardcore version of this car, the M50i, which comes with a 4.4-liter V8 engine producing 456 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. This engine is going to spring you to 100 kilometers per hour or 60 miles per hour in just 4.3 seconds and has a max speed of 155 miles per hour. And lastly, there is the X5 M, which is the most hardcore of all the hardcore versions of the X5, which has a 4.4-liter V8, which is tuned to produce 567 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. This engine should be capable of getting you from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 3.8 seconds and has a top speed of 180 miles an hour. Wow, that was quite a lot of pretty boring facts all at once. So now let's close the hood and go and have a look to the back of the car. Now the X5 trunk, similarly to all the previous X5s, comes with a top and bottom half, which is really practical because if you want to load in any heavier luggage, you can always just press this and open this bottom part and you won't have to, bring it up too high. This is the first version of the X5, however, where this bottom part of the opening can be electrically operated, so you can just press the button instead of manually putting it back up, which would be too much effort. The X5 also has a really smart feature where if you have your hands full of groceries, you can always just come to the car and sort of kick here from the behind and the trunk opens itself up. And if you want to fit more luggage into this car, you can always just come to the back of the car here and press a button and electrically lower the seats, which is a really great feature. One bad thing about the rear seats is that they never go fully down and they're never quite fully horizontal, which is impractical if you want to fit in more luggage or some boxes or stuff like that. If you want to talk numbers, this car's got 650 liters of luggage space, which means that you can theoretically fit in 3 golf bags, 13 pieces of Ryanair check-in luggage, or 4 beer barrels. The 650 liters of luggage space is also slightly more than the Volvo XC90's 640 liters or the Audi Q8's 610 liters. Even though all the previously mentioned things which you could stuff into this boot were quite theoretical, one thing is for sure, and that's the fact that I fit in no problem. And it's even quite comfortable to get in because you can lower this part, just sort of get back here, perhaps sit here with 1 or 2 of your mates as well. Below the floor of the trunk, there is no spare tire. However, there is a compartment where you can fit in the cover for the luggage, which is one of the most challenging things about this car. And it is as if you were trying to solve a 3D puzzle with the difficulty set to max. And for your entertainment and education, I'm now going to try doing just that. So if you're enjoying this video, help your man out and give this video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Anyhow, let's now try and do this thing. So first you need to unplug this, then put this up. How do you get this out? Turning out to be more difficult than I thought. As you can see, I was really struggling. The process to store the cover took me quite literally over 10 minutes and is definitely not easy. But I have to admit I had no idea what I was doing, and with a bit of practice it can take you around 1 minute. Hooray, I did it! Now let's go and have a look at the interior. Now, the interior consists of leather, plastic bits and aluminum panels. And it's a really nice interior to look at, but I just still feel like the Mercedes-Benz interiors are that slight bit better. Now the seats are really comfortable, you can operate them electrically. They come with a heating and a cooling both front and back and have a heated armrest as well. Furthermore, you can program some stuff in the settings, so then here you have buttons 1 and 2 for 2 different drivers with 2 different seat settings. Overall, the seats are really nice looking and comfortable, so on the comfiness scale I'm going to give them 9 out of 10. But just note that if you order the interior in this ivory white color, the seats are going to get dirty. Next up is the steering wheel, and this car has got the special steering wheel that comes with the M Sport package, and it looks really nice. I especially love this contrast stitching here. The wheel has also got a whole bunch of buttons. So for example, here on the left are the buttons which operate the adaptive cruise control, which is really good on this car. You have to pay in order to get it, but with this button down here you start it up, then you can adjust the speed and the distance from the car ahead and stuff like that. One really nice feature of this steering wheel regarding the adaptive cruise control are these 2 built-in lights which flash if anything is going on the road in front of you or you need to touch the wheel while the adaptive cruise control is on. Then there are buttons here on the right which I honestly don't use all that much, but you can for example use them to skip the music. One bad thing about using these buttons to skip the music is that there is a slight delay between you pressing the button and the music actually changing, which can be infuriating at times. Last notable button on the steering wheel is this small one down here, which you can use to heat up the steering wheel during the winters. Or during the summers as well, I don't know, whenever you need to heat up the steering wheel. Then there are these aluminum panels, which are quite small but really satisfying to click, and behind them are just standard plastic stalks. One last thing, if you wanted to know how to adjust the steering wheel, there is this tiny little dangly plastic button here on the left, which you can use to put the wheel up or down, left or right. But it feels like it's going to break at any moment. Continuing on, let's talk about the driver display. And let's start by saying that it is a really well-made and high-quality display, which is sharp and just generally nice to look at. One thing that takes quite a while to get used to is the fact that the speed gauge is inverse to every other speed gauge in every other car. The benefit of having the gauge inverse is that you have a whole bunch of space in between the two gauges, which you can use, for example, for your navigation. One bad thing about the driver screen is that it just could have been way more customizable. I mean, I'm fine with just, the standard screen and the two gauges, but it just feels like they've been a bit too lazy and they could have done a bit more. The X5 also comes with a driver sensor, which always checks what the driver is doing in the car and if he's paying attention to the road. And also, it comes with a heads-up display, which is just a really high-quality heads-up display, really sharp, really nice, colorful, and displays all the useful information without you having to actually look at the driver display itself. The central console in this car is quite wide, and same thing can be said about the central storage. The central storage can be opened by pressing this beautiful aluminum panel over there and sort of splits into half, which is not the best feature design-wise, or at least in my opinion, but it's really practical because, for example, if the driver has their arm on the armrest over here, the passenger can still sort of reach inside and pull out their gum. One more interesting thing about this central storage is that there is a USB-C port inside. Very forward-thinking, BMW. Very forward-thinking. Anyhow, let's now close the central storage and move a bit more forward here, where there's a whole array of buttons. All the buttons are sort of enclosed on this island in the middle of the central console. And there's buttons, for example, for traction control, for the navigation in the infotainment, then for the different settings. There's Sport, Comfort, Eco Pro, Adaptive, and Auto H. Then there is a parking brake and different settings for the ride height. This car is an SUV, which means that you should be able to take it off-roading if you ever wanted to. And so there's different settings for the ride height, and we shall have a look at what the differences between these ride heights are. So let's start off with the lowest one, which looks like this, and now the highest one, which looks like this. This car has got the standard boring shift lever, which is finished in this black reflective piano material. However, for $650, you can also order a crystal glass, nice looking gear lever from BMW. Talking about features that this car doesn't have, there is also the option to get the panorama glass roof Sky Lounge. And if you wonder what that is, it is basically a panoramic roof, however with lights integrated into it, so that it sort of finishes off the mood in the car. It's quite nice, but it costs $1,700 hard-earned extra dollars. And while we're here sitting by the central console, let's talk about road trip essentials. This car comes with 4 cup holders, and in these 2 in the front, you can either cool or heat your drink. Then you have the USB-C port over here, a standard USB port over here, then 2 cigarette lighters, and a charging pad for your phone. The X5 comes with 5 seats as standard, with the middle one in the back being sort of questionable. However, you can also order the 3rd row with 2 additional seats. Then sitting here in the back of the car, you've got quite a lot of space. Then you have this little storage net over here. Then you've got the central storage over here, which is really flat and impractical because you cannot really put in anything, maybe some book or something, I don't know. But at least you get these 2 cup holders, quite large, good quality, good quality, they're plastic. Then you've got the seat heating for 2 out of the 3 back seats and 2 sets of ISOFIX points for your babies. One more interesting thing, while I'm sitting here in the back, when the doors are open, the interior lighting on the doors starts flashing red so that the oncoming traffic sees that there's a car stopped with the doors open. That's a really nice and quite simple safety feature, yet I've never seen it on any other car. Then there is a whole bunch of buttons for the climate controls, and there's not really much to be said about those. But then there's this cool looking button with the car and a shield around it, with which you can either start or stop or activate or deactivate the intelligent systems in this car. Now let's talk about the infotainment system. And the infotainment system in this car can be controlled by 4 different ways, which is a bit excessive in my opinion. So you can first of all use this swivel wheel down here, then you can of course use touch, then you can use hand gestures such as this, and then you can use your voice. The voice and hand gestures are not really all that useful in real life. However, they're still quite nice features to have in order to impress your friends or grandparents. The screen itself is really sharp, bright, and just really nice to look at. But now let's talk about some of the more interesting features inside of the menus of the infotainment. So first of all, as you go through the different settings, the car on the screen rotates and different parts of it light up. The nicest little feature about this infotainment system is the fact that the little car that rotates on the screen is the actual recreation of your real-life spec. The only thing that's missing is the little M badge on the side of the car, which could infuriate some of the BMW racers out there. Some other interesting things to point out is, for example, the fact that the driver profile avatars in the settings are BMW concept car details. Then the handbook is fully digital inside of the menu as well. Then you have a specific menu in which you can rotate the head-up display, and I have no idea why anyone would do that. Then you can also set up the tailgate opening height, which is really practical, for example in garages with low ceiling, and it's a great idea. So let's now demonstrate the difference between the highest and the lowest the trunk can go. So here is the highest it can go, and here is the lowest it can go. Then you can also adjust the ambient lighting color in the cabin, and I think this car has one of the best ambient lights in the entire industry. So you can choose between a whole variety of colors, but then you can also choose to pair these colors with white, which is weirdly specific in my opinion. Then there is also this purple-pink color called Lilac, which when you put on, you immediately start feeling as if you were a pimp inside of a strip club. Yeah, I don't know, perhaps someone would enjoy this type of interior ambient light. And lastly, in this infotainment system, there are different apps, and one of those pre-installed apps is country information, which tells you what are the different limits and rules in different countries. So for example, if I put in Vatican, you learn that you can drive 30 kilometers per hour in the city of Vatican. Or for example, if I put in Malta, you learn that the blood alcohol limit is 0.8. As we all know, BMW really enjoys branding. They put the M badge or the BMW badge anywhere they can. And even though this car has the rear badges deleted, there is still quite a lot of logos around the car. But what is the total branding tally? Let's now talk about some of the cool tech in this car. And obviously we've already talked about the adaptive cruise control, the lane assist, that you can kick in order to open the trunk, that you can cool or heat your drinks inside of the cup holders, or the massaging seats. But there's still a bit more. And one of those things is, for example, the parking assist, which as the name suggests, helps you with parking. I mean, now I'm sitting in an entirely empty parking lot, but for example, when you're trying to park in a tight or narrow space in the city, this helps quite a bit. Then you have the reverse assist, which is one of the coolest assistants that this car has. So what it does is it remembers the last 50 meters of every journey you make. So for example, if you park up in a parking spot and then return back later and want to park out again, you can put the reverse assist on, not even touch the steering wheel, and the car is going to reverse just by itself. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but honestly it works really well. What we haven't really talked about yet is the doors. And so obviously when you get closer to the car unlocks. When you get further away, the car locks again. You can access the car without taking the key out of your pocket, and you can also open the doors using your Android phone. An Android phone, you might be thinking that's very specific. And yeah, it is. You cannot actually use your Apple device in order to do the same thing. So you can open the doors using an Android, but then this car doesn't have the Android Auto infotainment, so you need to have another phone, or more specifically an iPhone, to access the Apple CarPlay. Last two cool tech features of this car is that this car has a display key, which is just a more expensive and cooler version of the normal key with a display. And then it also has a night vision with pedestrian recognition. So what it does is basically at night, on this screen it's going to warn you if there's any pedestrians, animals, and stuff like that. This car doesn't have it because the feature costs $3,900 extra. And I haven't really tried it in any other car, so I cannot really say whether it's good or not. But at least it sounds really cool. Same way as the panorama glass sky lounge roof sounds also really cool. And it's also really expensive. But not as expensive as the night vision. Okay guys, and that's everything for today's episode of Inside Out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't hesitate to give the video a thumbs up or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more automotive content every week. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this review, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what I could perhaps do better. And as always, hopefully, see you next time.